Hi there. Welcome back to Sasquatch Escapes. Okay, we remember yesterday we left off on a little bit of a cliffhanger. We know that, first of all, we know personality of Pearl is that she's known as a little bit of a troublemaker, and that definitely becomes apparent yesterday when she wasn't really supposed to blow that whistle, and she did anyway, thinking it was going to make a very tiny sound, and it turns out it made a much bigger one. Chapter 13, The Scurry. Ben leaned close, expecting a soft little growl to leak from the whistle's end. Chirr! He plugged his fingers to his ears. Stop! He begged. Pearl dropped the whistle. The sound had been as loud as a train passing directly through the bedroom. Snooze squeaked and dove under his nest. The sound echoed off of walls and then faded. Ben lowered his fingers and glared at Pearl. I barely used any air, she insisted, and then she looked around. Do you think anyone heard that? Everyone heard that, Ben said, his ears still ringing. You could hear that all the way to the airport. Then he and Pearl shared a worried look. Do you think... Pearl scrambled to her feet. Do you think the Sasquatch heard? Of course it heard, Ben furrowed his brow. But that was a weird sound. Chirp? I was expecting more of a roar. Me too. Pearl's shoulders stiffened as rumbling sounds arose in the distance. What's that? Ben rushed to the bedroom window and opened it and stuck his head out. The rumbling was getting louder now. Move over, Pearl said, shoving her elbows onto the windowsill. As she stuck her head out, a long blonde hair blew across Ben's mouth. He wiped it away. Sounds like something very big is running this way. Something very big? Running this way? Ben's heartbeat quickened. A few moments ago, they were opening a metal box, excited about possibilities. And now, a real live Sasquatch was running their way. Images of Godzilla filled Ben's mind. He remembered the old Japanese movies where the giant green reptile charged down the streets of Tokyo, smashing cars and buildings with its enormous feet. Only this wasn't Tokyo. This was Buttonville. And Godzilla wasn't a giant lizard. This was a big, hairy forest dweller. What do we do? Ben asked, his voice squeaking. We're not ready. We haven't figured out how to trap it. We haven't figured out how to get it to the factory. Shh! Pearl interrupted. Listen. Ben swallowed his panic and turned his ear toward the street. The rumbling grew closer, but sounded different, more complex. It sounds like a herd of cattle. He didn't remember seeing any cattle grazing on the land when he drove from the airport. Just lots and lots of trees. Do you have cattle in Buttonville? No. Pearl ducked her head back into the bedroom and pointed at the whistle. The book said that if the whistle isn't used properly, it could attract other creatures. What kind of other creatures? Ben whispered. Pots and pans rattled as Ben and Pearl raced to the kitchen. Ben grabbed the knob and yanked open the front door, and then they stood side by side on the porch. The boards vibrated beneath their feet as the rumbling neared. Barnaby, who had been sleeping in a patch of sun on the front lawn, darted up the nearest tree. Clinging to a branch, he hissed, the fur on his back standing up. Down the road, someone screamed. Ben clung to the porch railing as a gray mass appeared around the corner. Squirrels? Pearl cried. And a scurry of squirrels charged down Pine Street. There must have been 100 of them, maybe more. Ben had never seen anything like this. Squirrels lived in parks back home, but they never traveled in groups, and they never raced down streets as if they were competing in a marathon. What's happening? Ben asked. The scurry knocked over a garbage can and then 2 mailboxes before turning to Grandpa Abe's yard. Pearl grabbed Ben's sleeve and pulled him back through the doorway. and they slammed the door shut and stared in awe out the front window. The little critters scrambled up the porch. Some perched on the railing, some crowded the cherry-red porch swing, and others balanced on the windowsill, pressing their black noses against the glass. And a chorus of chirp, 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 chirp filled the air. "Whoa," Ben said. "That's the same sound the whistle made. Only the whistle was 1,000,000 times louder." Pearl gawked at the little gray faces. "They must think that we have a giant squirrel in here. Maybe they think that I'm the Squirrel Queen." It made sense. It actually kind of made really crazy sense. "How do we get rid of them?" Ben asked. The window began to fog with little hot puffs of squirrel breath. "Maybe they'll just go away." "We should just wait," Pearl said. But they didn't go away. A few cars stopped. Some neighbors peeked over the fence. When the Squirrel Queen didn't make an appearance, the squirrels began to explore the yard. They drank from the bird bath, then overturned it. They chased Barnaby out of the tree and overtook the branches, eating all the acorns and tossing the shells aside. Their little claws dug through the grass, looking for other things to eat. "Chirp, chirp, 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 chirp." "It sounds getting really annoying," Pearl said, as 18 pairs of beady eyes stared at her through the glass. "Chirp, chirp, 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 chirp." "Yeah, and they're making a huge mess." Ben didn't want his grandfather to come home and find a huge mess in his yard. "We have to do something." It took Pearl and Ben the rest of the afternoon to get rid of the squirrels. Armed with brooms and rakes, they pushed them out of the trees and chased them down the street. Eventually, not a single gray-haired varmint remained. They set up the bird bath. Garbage cans and mailboxes were upright. Then Ben raked all the acorn shells while Pearl wiped squirrel paw prints from the window. And just as they finished, Grandpa Abe's phone rang. Ben answered it. It was Pearl's mother reminding Pearl to come home and finish her chores. A shipment from China had arrived, and all the merchandise needed to be put on the dollar store shelves. "Can you come back later?" Ben asked. "So we can look in the forest?" "Well, we eat dinner after we close the store, and then it gets dark, and there's no way my mom is going to let me walk around the woods in the dark. I guess we're going to have to wait until tomorrow." Ben agreed. The forest at night seemed a bit scary. Back in his bedroom, they collected the tranquilizer dart, blowpipe, chocolate bar, fog bomb, guidebook, and whistle, and returned them to the Sasquatch catching kit. Before Ben could stop her, Pearl locked the kit. "You keep the box, I keep the key. That way, neither one of us will do something that we shouldn't." She smiled knowingly. "Like, blow the whistle again." "I wasn't going to blow the whistle," Ben said, though he had been wondering what sound would emerge if he had given it a try. Would a swarm of bees appear? Or maybe a sloth of bears? "Come to the dollar store as soon as you can in the morning. I'll wake up extra early and get all my chores done. Then we can go into the woods." Let's hope that Mr. Tabby was right when he said the Sasquatch won't hurt anyone and that it'll probably just sleep in the woods. Well, there's no way I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. She tucked the key into her pocket. This is the most exciting thing that has ever happened to me. After Pearl left, Grandpa Abe returned from the senior center. "So what have you been up to?" he asked. Just hanging out with Pearl." "Pearl? The troublemaker? Well, I'm glad you made a friend." Grandpa Abe handed Ben a piece of birthday cake. "Birthday day at the senior center was fun. By the way, you've got a little something over here." "Huh?" Ben asked. Grandpa Abe frowned. "Just a little something on your face." He pointed to Ben's cheek. Ben wiped it with his sleeve. It was a piece of an acorn shell. "And what do you have planned for tomorrow? Another day of hanging out?" "Yeah," Ben smiled. He stuck his hand in his pocket and found the clump of fur. Tomorrow was sure to be a day like no other. Because the truth, for once, was better than any story he could come up with. Tomorrow. Sorry. Tomorrow he would go looking for a Sasquatch.